this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to share with you how I'm going to document books for 2023, and just happy New Year's to everybody. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody, and welcome the new year by sharing how I'm going to set up my 2023 reading journal. As you can see, I have all the different pieces here, and I even made my own journal. So let's start with that. On my Instagram, I have been sharing how I put this together, like little reels about how I put this together. I used the cinch machine and had a lot of fun figuring this out. My husband did help me at the end to make sure I had these like cinched enough, and I got the biggest rings, painted my own covers, added some stamping, and I also found some paper that is similar to Archer and Olive as far as the weight, and I tested out the paper and it stamps great, and I didn't see like too much ghosting or anything like that. So I am thinking this paper is going to work great, and everything that I found I'm going to go ahead and link in the description box below, and then if I'm missing anything, just let me know. But I took 160 pages and I just put in the holes, and then since I already had kind of my plan for this project, I just put in sticky notes for the different things that I want to include. There is a lot. I really tried to rein in myself as far as the challenges. I added in a few little things, and I'll just show you real quick. So I have the year of books, which is something I did last year. I'm going to do the favorites, like the monthly favorites, but this time I'm using a cut file. And then I'm going to do 2 bookshelves, just like I did last year. And then I have my Goodreads challenge, which is going to be here. And I think I'm going to make it, it's going to be, I've sketched out more of a game board to make it to 100. And so each month will have one specific color. I'm going to do A to Z. Again, it's going to get its own page. And then there was 2 challenges that I'm still deciding on. There's monthly keyword and middle grade books. So I don't know. I'm thinking middle grade because that'll be easier. I'm not trying to add more work, quote unquote, more work. But I really wanted to just try a new challenge. So I'm trying to decide on which one I'll pick. I want to keep better track of genres. Last year was just tally marks, and I wanted to get a little more in depth. So I'm going to do all the genres using this stamp set, and I will go over that in just a minute. That's a fantastic stamp set by Jennifer at Syncopation Design, Resting Book Face. All the information is in the description box. So I'm going to have a 2-page for the genres. I'm doing another fun challenge called Read Across the United States. It found an Instagrammer. Oh boy, I'm not going to remember her name. Oh my goodness, it just escaped my head. I will link her. She was listing all the challenges you could ever imagine, and she makes the most awesome reading journals. And I came across this one, and I really wanted to try it because I've noticed that I am reading so many books that take place in New York, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'd love to like step outside of New York and try other books. So you kind of like sign up for their printable and they'll send it to you, and I printed it out and I just cut it out, and they break it down into months. They give you a ton of different choices for each month. Of course, you can try to research and find your own. And so I will piece this all back together here, and I will probably stamp my own months. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna add in the books, but I'll figure it out when I get there. So that is the read around the USA. So then I have 4 pages for Rate the Romance. At the time that I'm making this video, the information for this challenge is not out yet. Same thing with the Bloom challenge. I want to do that again this year. I was pretty successful in 2022 since I got about half of the books done. So I want to give that another try. And then this is where January will start. So it's a lot of setup pages, but you know, it's about the same as last year, just a few more. So that is my setup, and yeah, I loved making this journal, and I'm very excited to have a coiled notebook. Another thing that I really wanted to make sure that I did this year is kind of find supplies that you guys can use, because I don't know about you, but like when I see someone make something and I'm like, oh, I want to use that, and then it's sold out, I'm like, dang it, that kind of is a bummer. So I was aware, and I wanted to be aware of that. And so what I did is I did a lot of research on Etsy to find some really fantastic printables. These are actually, I think, mainly used for the planner system GoodNotes, I believe, but they send you the PNGs, and so they come out to a fantastic size, and you can print them on clear sticker paper, or you can die cut them, and they're just, I mean, they're absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's so many things. This one is from Apriloves with just one L between it. So just, I mean, her set is just incredible. There's so many choices. This one got a little ripped, but that's okay. There's another set that I found that is more like the bold colors, and this one is from PaperHearts Planner Co. And so that one has, like I said, more bold colors. But you guys, I mean, it's just amazing, these die cuts, and I can totally use them. And so I wanted to use them in my reading journal. That way I knew they're available. You guys can grab them if you want to. And also, you know, I know sometimes stamping can be intimidating. So that way, if you use die cuts, it's not so intimidating. Let me show you some more of these die cuts, because I cannot get enough of them. Okay, so there's I'm reading snacks. Let's see, hoping for a happy ending. You know, the book was better. Finish that book. Rest in peace and memory of my favorite character. And these two are super cute. I can see myself using this in June, and this one maybe in May. And there's another girl right here. Reader's gonna read. The only one that I changed the color of was this one to the green, because I think I'm gonna use it in my opening page. So it comes as a pink, kind of a pinkish red. And then there's a bookworm too. I mean, these stickers are just amazing. And so I got all of those to use if I want to, and I definitely will. I think I'm gonna make a cover that has a lot of die cuts and stamping. I'm gonna make a cover page that is just like my 2020 reading journal, where I did a ton of die cuts and stamping in one full, like, graphic, awesome page. It'll be easier if I just show you. So I'm gonna make a page very similar to this with a mix of die cuts and stamping from my 2020 journal. So just scrap lift myself. And the other thing that I kind of did, so that way it's easy for you guys if you want to copy it for 2 weeks, this is going to be free, and you just click on the link that I have in my description box, and you can download yourself a PDF copy of this and then go ahead and print it if you would like. I think I have to add the middle grade and read across the USA. But I wanted to do, again, my titles, most of them printed, so that way I'm not taking too much time stamping, and also it's easy for you guys, so you don't have to worry about stamping or anything like that. So I have 20, and then I'll probably stamp the 23, I think. And then I have Goodreads Challenge, 2023 books, Bloom Challenge. I made goals that I want to include, and then 2 titles for Shelfie and part 2, the genres, so all the titles that I could think of. If I'm missing any, I will add those in and then add those to the PDF. So that is available for you to download if you would like for 3 weeks. Okay, so here is the stamp set from Jennifer. There's all kinds of different stamp genres. There's historical fiction, young adult, fantasy, LGBTQIA+, self-help, supernatural, bestseller, children's, nonfiction, romance. So a ton of different options, and I'm just gonna stamp them on the page and then tally up my different genres. I also love the little phrases that she included: book lover, you know, Forget Reality, book club pick, I love reading, books are magical, my local library, let's go to the bookstore. So many fantastic stamp phrases and my rating. I'm very excited to have this in my collection and use it. Another new book stamp set that I'm using, it just came out from Studio Calico. I believe it sold out like super quick, like a lot of their stamp sets, but if you can grab it, it's still available. It's not a super old stamp set. So this one, I don't remember what it's called, but it's designed by Pippa Post. I will find it and put it in the description box. But it has I'd Rather Be Reading, Treat Yourself, the stack of books, the rainbow that you can make, reminds me of Reading Rainbow. Bookmarks are for quitters. When in doubt, go to the library. So that's the new one that I grabbed. So these are still available. Now these ones are the ones that I've had for a long time. I don't know if they're still available. I will double check. This one is another Studio Calico that always sells out super, super quick, but it is the one that I use to make my shelves. I've done it by hand before for 2021, and it was just really hard, really tedious. So this is really nice to get. And so that is designed by Little Lamm Paper Company, and like I said, it sells out so quick. I also have the Everyday Explorers one, the reading journal, which I always love to use this book to stamp. This was a good read. The book rating, love this book. This one is book club. I like to stamp the little book, current favorite. Couldn't put this one down. So lots of great options in this one. I don't know why I didn't take it out. Should have just taken it out, right? So then my happy place, currently reading, always learning. Great options on that one. And then another one that I pulled out that I sometimes use because it has lots of currently's on it is this one called Currently Seals. So currently reading, totally enjoying, currently loving. So just some everyday phrases that I could use for this. So that is probably the longest introduction, but let's go ahead and get started on building some pages. I am thinking this is going to be a long video, very long video. So I hope you got a snack or something to craft on. I am excited to build this journal and bring it to life with you. And thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying my reading journal. I'm excited to document all my reading again. And I am going to go ahead and switch to voiceover and get started on making this journal. All right, here we go. Okay, my friends, are we ready? This is going to be a long video, longer than I normally do, and it was a super long introduction because I wanted to make sure that we got all the challenges, how I'm formatting everything. I wanted to get all of that out of the way. And I noticed that last year I kind of broke up how I did my setup. So I guess you could consider this setup number 1 because last year I did a setup for my bookshelves, the introduction, and then I did some challenges. So I'm going to do it that way. That way, you know, lots of reasons, but one of the big reasons is that way I have more time, and some of the challenges don't have their printouts yet, like Rate the Romance and Bloom Challenge. So I'm just gonna wait on the challenges, and maybe I'll share that later this week since I'm trying to share with you December daily as well. So I hope that that is a good plan. So now you get 2 setup videos, but this is like the main one. As you can see, I am making that mix of die cut and stamping page. I did a clear sticker title that says 20, stamped 23, and then picked out a few die cuts to spread around, like the socks. I love cozy socks. It goes perfect with reading. And I picked a few books, one's open, and then I have the hello, I'm reading, and then I'll have a small vertical stack up in the top left corner. And then I just go through my different stamped phrases and kind of pick different ones that I want to stamp, and slowly start to fill in this page. And I do wind up grabbing a Mandy Ford stamp set in a little bit, and I'm hoping that that's still available at Studio Calico. That is a relatively new stamp set. I believe it came out in November, so it should still be available. But I really loved how it had some stars and hearts, and I love Mandy's handwriting. I'm also going to grab this Syncopation Design stamp set, and I hope nobody is offended by the a curse word. Hope nobody is, because truly sometimes reality needs to go away and get lost in a good book. So I am stamping that a few different times. I'm also going to stamp I Love Reading from that stamp set, and Books Are Magical. I did run into the problem of stamping on the far left edge, but if you guys have been around here for a while, you know that I'm not a perfectionist and I really just want to have fun. And more than anything, I just want to get my journal started. I'm not going to sit there and worry about stamping on the left. So I'm just doing it by hand and hoping for the best. Also grabbed that Studio Calico stamp set that I use for the bookshelf. You can see it. It's up at the left corner of my screen. And I'm going to stamp I Read Past My Bedtime. Take a look. It's in a book, Fictionista, and just one more chapter. And I think that's it. I love all the phrases on that stamp set. But like I said, you guys, if they restock it again, like, you guys got to grab it like instantly because it sells out so quickly. From the newer book stamp set from Studio Calico, I stamped an open face book, Bookmarks Are for Quitters, and Books Are Magic. And you guys, I have no idea how this is possible. I don't know how I passed this down, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I did pass this down because my daughter refuses to use bookmarks just like me. She uses anything she can find or nothing at all. She'll just remember her page or hope that she remembers her page. But me, I'm just like, candy wrapper works. Old receipt, that works too. But like, I have 1,000 bookmarks. I just never use them. And somehow I pass that on to my daughter. Why and how, I don't know. But that's just a funny story. And I've got this cover page all wrapped up, and now I'll start on the 2023 year of books. And what I decided is to add a flip out. And if you watched my November video for this year's journal, you know that I had to I don't know what the word is. I had to somehow assemble a flip down because I read so many books, and which is awesome. That's amazing that I'm having a great year of reading, but I didn't want to run into that problem for 2023. So I'm just assuming and hoping that I have another great reading year. Let's hope I didn't jinx myself. So I'm just going to add a piece of paper. I didn't want to do any other size except the size of the actual paper. So I'm just going with a full insert, and I'm not going to add anything to the front of it, which I was like second guessing. I'm like, oh, do I like this design? Do I not like it? So basically the whole design is going to be, you have to open the flip in order to see the entire year of books, if that makes sense. You'll see it once I get it all together, but it's going to say 2023 and then books down in the bottom. And now I'm adhering the little insert, the added piece, and I'm going to add a big die cut on the bottom. It breaks up the spread, and last year I added some stamped plants, but because that stamp set is no longer available and I have these die cuts, I decided to use the die cuts. And it's a cute little girl with a book in her face, and it says readers gonna read. So, and like I said, to see the whole spread, you have to flip it open. So I'm just keeping this spread really simple, just like I did last year. Last year was just the title and some stamping. So this year it's gonna be a die cut up in the top left that says book obsessed, no shelf control. And in the bottom corner is going to be that girl. Then I'll grab the Mandy Ford stamp set and stamp some hearts. That girl die cut got torn on my cutting mat because the cutting mat was like brand new. If anybody has tips on how to avoid that, I would love to know. I actually hired my daughter to put some baby powder on the back of the die cuts so that way they weren't so sticky and they wouldn't stick to everything. So I paid her a couple dollars. I'm like, take all these die cuts and put a little bit of baby powder on them. because that's the only trick that I know is, and I've done it for years. I mean, I saw that when I first started scrapbooking with a Mrs. Grossman video. She was showing how to like take away the adhesive for her stickers. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And I still use that trick to this day. So there is my 2023 books, and it is fantastic and it's huge, and I have lots of room to add all the books, and I don't have to add a weird flip down at the end of the year. Okay, so the next thing is going to be my shelves, and it's going to be quite an adventure. Well, in the next order of the pages would be Year of Favorites, the Ashley Horton cut file, but I'm going to share that in a separate video since that is, again, learning how to use cut files, and I think it would be fun to show that in a separate video because it's a fun way to document all the favorites from each month, or my favorite book from one particular month. So that's going to be in another video. This, my Shelfie, I'm again using that stamp set from Studio Calico, and I am going to go on an adventure to put together my Shelfie. I just felt like it was a little bit harder this year, maybe because all my people were around and I was a little distracted. But in the end, I got a really cute bookshelf, and last year I went with more neutrals. This year I have more color because I'm going to wind up adding in some flowers that are pinks and yellows, and then a little bit of green. So I have to, what I didn't realize is that I have to stamp the vertical book first in order to make the shelves fit, you know, all together. And I'll wind up with 3 sets of shelves, and I'm just going to hand draw in my flower boxes. Last year I used a stamp set from Feed Your Craft that's no longer available, so I figured, you know what, it really is not that hard to doodle a box, so I'm just going to go ahead and doodle a box and hope and pray it looks all right. As you can see, I stamped the horizontal stack of books and then the vertical, and so I wound up having to kind of add a book on the bottom for the second shelf, and I made it work, and I'm just grabbing some scrap pieces of paper so I can add in another set of books and add in that die cut that says time to read, because I love that die cut. It's probably a favorite. Turn on my light and it's time to read until I fall asleep. There's another die cut with a girl with like a book on her face, and it looks like she literally fell asleep reading, and that is absolutely me to a T. So I love that. You can see here, I'm just drawing my boxes as best as I can. I'm not a doodler and I'm not a drawer, so I'm just winging it. But I think it turned out great, and so I give myself a gold star. And I'm going to, like I said, stamp those with the Mandy Ford flower stamp set in yellows and pinks. And then I'll color them in a little bit later on with some markers. Having all kinds of fun and feeling like a little kid by stamping and coloring in, and I'm very excited to be building my shelves. Last year, I think I waited till the middle of January. I think I waited until I was completely done with 2021 before I was like, okay, let's do 2022. But this year I want to be ready, and I know you guys are excited, and so I really, really appreciate your excitement and loving my reading journals. They really are just so special to me, and I've always loved reading ever since I was a little girl, and I've kept track of my reading since I was a little girl. I can remember using binder paper and just writing down the books and how many days it took me to read. So you can see here, I am trying to count and figure out how many I need to go down, and I did not go down enough. And that's always my biggest worry, is just not going down enough. It's like sometimes scrapbooking with anxiety is not the easiest, and this is one of those times. I was like, dang it. So I'm going to wind up with 3 lines, and I just left it. I could have used my whiteout pen, but I figured, you know what, I'm just going to leave it for now and figure out what I'm going to do later on. Because once I write the titles in, you might not be able to see that oopsie line as much. So I'm just going to leave it for now and move on. It's not something that I want to spend any brain power trying to figure out. So I'm just going to leave it, walk away, keep going and keep having fun. I'm moving on to the second shelf. I added a vertical stack, and then I finished by my left-hand side page on the bottom. I wanted to add a horizontal stack, so I'm doing that because that's kind of the tricky part. You have to, like I said, you have to stack you have to stamp the vertical first in order to know like how far down the distance is. I suppose I could measure it with a ruler, but I don't trust myself measuring exactly. So I would rather just stamp it and then, draw the bookshelf line. I'm stamping another vertical. I only need 2, so I used my scratch pieces of paper again, another horizontal, and then I will do a bottom shelf. I am going to wind up doing another box kind of in the middle and giving the bottom shelf a little bit more room because I was noticing I was stamping a lot of books kind of squished together, but kind of not, because like I said, I'm dreaming big here and I'm hoping for another really fantastic year of books. But I'm someone who reads all types of books. Like I just finished reading a graphic novel called Letters from Father Christmas. It's by J.R.R. Tolkien. He wrote a bunch of letters to his children in the 1930s and 1940s, like Christmas letters. And so I just finished that, and I read kid books. And so it's not exactly hard for me to get to 100 because I will read a wide range of things. So I'm very excited to read and just keep reading. I love reading. I'm so excited. I have a ton of library books already waiting for me for next year. I mean, my cupboard's always full of library books. So what are you guys looking forward to reading? I would love to know in the comment section. What are you starting 2023 off with reading? I think I'm starting with a romance. It's a number 2 in the series, and the title just escaped my head, but that is what I'm starting with. As you can see here, I have grabbed my markers and I'm starting in on the coloring. I went with a gray for the bookshelves, and then I have a light brown tan color for the actual boxes. I think I used this same tan color last year because it works well if I want to stamp a phrase on top of the planter box. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet. If I'm going to stamp those phrases, I might just go back and get some clear sticker phrases, measure the boxes, and do that because that might be a little bit easier and quicker. So in this video, you won't see me add any phrases. I'm just going with coloring in and stamping. And you can see I am coloring in the flowers yellow and also some of them pink, and then the green ones down in the bottom. Now, the green ones down at the bottom are an Everyday Explorer stamp set that I don't know if it is available anymore, but I didn't have any other like Greenery type stamp sets, so I'm like, I have to go with this one. You could always use the digital, but hopefully you have a Greenery stamp set if you want to add that to your Shelfie. I thought about getting some die cuts that were plants, but I just kind of ran out of time. So this is going to be my Shelfie part 2, and last year I did a flip out so I could do more books, and I also included a illustration that a friend's husband had done, and I am leaving room on this page to do an illustration at the bottom if I decide to get one. I am thinking about paying someone to do an illustration for me because I really want one in my book journal, but I haven't decided yet. And since I'm doing my journals so early this year, I just don't have it yet. So I am starting with a vertical stack on the far right, and as you can see, it kind of goofed already, and I'm just going to fix it with one of those thick Papermate flare pens, and you can't even notice the goof. I'll have a tall little planter box, and then I'm going to include that cute little bookworm die cut, and then I will go on to the second shelf and stamp two vertical sets of books. I think in the end, I wind up with like 112, 115 books. That's kind of the rough estimate that I was going for, since this year I am already at book 118, I believe, I think. So like I said, it's been an excellent year full of amazing books. So that's why I did so many for this year. I am working on now my third shelf, and I wind up stamping the pink flowers. I don't know if I'm stamping them right now, but I wind up stamping them twice because I didn't stamp it great the first time. So what I do is I just go ahead and stamp it on a piece of paper, the same type of paper I'm using because I had a spare. And I'm just going to cut that out, and then I'll adhere it over the top. and you won't even tell that I made a boo-boo. So I'm going to do that later on. I'll just grab that paper right now, stamp it, and then I'll fussy cut it out later on and color it in. Adding some yellow flowers, and then I'll also add some green in a little bit. And having these 2 scratch pieces of paper works so good and so well for, you know, not stamping where you don't want to stamp. I'm going to open the book back up and work on the right-hand side, and the right-hand side is only going to have 2 shelves in case I want to put an illustration down in the bottom. I'm going to use a little plant book die cut from that Apriloves. I believe it's Apriloves, or maybe it's the other one. Either way, I'm leaving the link in the description box. So I put 2 stacks, and then I make my own little stack on the far right. I didn't get it to touch the bottom, so it's kind of like the books are floating. So we'll just pretend that those books are magic. They're floating. Now I'm going to do the last shelf, and then I will start in on all my coloring. So I love the coloring, and I think I accidentally wind up not coloring the flowers that I'm going to cut out. So I will just fix that, and then you'll see them all colored in when you see the photos. So I love how these came together. I love how I chose a little bit brighter colors this year, and I'm just so excited to be starting this reading journal, and I really truly hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this process video. I hope you look forward to seeing the other challenges that I'm going to do, the Goodreads challenge, Read Across the USA, and A to Z, and what else do I have? Rate the Romance and the Bloom challenge. So I have quite a few challenges to still do in my journal, but I'm super excited, and I love this journal. You guys know I do. So I am wrapping up with the coloring, and then that's it. That is it for the first big setup of my journal. Truly hope you guys have enjoyed, and Happy New Year. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel, and let me know if you are doing a reading journal for yourself or how you are documenting your books. I would absolutely love to know, and thanks again for taking the time to watch my video. All right, hope you have a great day. Bye.